Are you considering applying to graduate school and are wondering what you can do to make your application as competitive as possible? Today I'm going to share 3 things that I think can really significantly boost your chances of getting admitted to a graduate program in the sciences. Make sure you stay till the end because my last tip is going to be the number one thing that I think is by far the most important thing that you can do if you want to go to graduate school. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Alicia and I have a master's in biology and a PhD in ecology, and I have a background in teaching, mentorship, and helping students with career development. On this channel, I really want to help you figure out what your ideal career path is so that you can accomplish your goals and ultimately lead a happy and fulfilling life. So today we're talking about getting into a graduate program in the sciences. When I did my PhD, I served on the admissions committee for our graduate program, and I did that for a couple of years, so I did get to see a lot of different applications and evaluate them and score them. So I have a pretty good idea of what kind of things the admissions committee is looking for and what things can really make your application stand out apart from the crowd. Your application package, there's a lot of things that are that make up your application package. You're going to have your transcripts with your grades and the courses that you've taken. You're going to have a personal statement, a research statement, letters of recommendation, your GRE scores. There's a lot of different things that are part of that package, but they're not all created equal, and not all things are going to be as important. They're all important to an extent, but there are definitely some things that I think to focus on while you're in your undergrad to really increase what your package is going to ultimately look like. And so there are 3 things in particular that I think can really help set you apart and give you a leg up when it does come time to apply to graduate school. The first thing I think can be important to do during undergrad is to what I think of as investing in your education in the research topic that you're interested in. What do I mean by invest in your education? So what I don't really mean is, study hard and do well in your courses, which of course is important and shouldn't be overlooked. But what I mean is really learn for the sake of learning about a topic and dive deep into it, right? So if you're taking a biology course or a chemistry course or whatever, and you come across a topic in your classes that's really interesting to you, a specific kind of niche topic, dive into that. Look up primary literature on that topic. Talk to your professors more about it. Talk to other people who study that topic, and really become, I wouldn't say necessarily an expert, but become well versed in that subject area and begin to understand maybe what kinds of gaps there are, what research is yet to be done, what kind of studies would you be interested in doing in that subject area. And the reason for this is that the more you dig into certain topics that are interesting to you, the more you're going to help yourself figure out what you want to study and what you might want to study for graduate school. And when you apply to graduate school, most likely you're going to have to write a research statement. And it's sort of like a proposal of the types of things and the types of questions you will want to study when you're in graduate school. And you're not held to whatever you put in your research statement, but kind of the purpose behind the research statement is to make sure that you can think like a scientist, you have a good understanding of the field that you're planning to go into, you have some kind of focus. Again, it doesn't have to be like super narrow and specific. It can be a little bit broad, but you don't want to be so broad that you just come across as like not really knowing much about the field. And so, the more that you can kind of focus yourself in kind of at least a direction in your field of interest, the better off it'll be, and the more natural your research statement will come across. It'll also help you, if you get invited to an interview for a graduate program, you might need to converse with professors and graduate students on the research topic that you are interested in studying. And so if you've already done a lot of background reading and maybe you've even done some independent research on that topic, you're going to come across as very well versed in that topic, interested and excited. And, that's what we want to see. Those of us that are on the admissions committee, is that you have an excitement and an interest in, are able to think critically about a scientific topic. And so that's something that I wish I'd done more of when I was an undergrad, was really like diving deep into some topics that I was interested in and learning more about them kind of on my own. And I didn't really do that until a little bit later. So the sooner you can start to do that and figure out kind of what you're interested in and learn as much as you can about it, the better off you'll be when you do have to apply to grad school and figure out like where you want to go and all of that stuff. So that'd be my first tip, is really kind of invest in your learning on the topic. Number 2 is to network with professors. If you're anything like me, I'm a little introverted, and talking to strangers, especially, people who you think of as sort of authority figures like a professor, that doesn't come naturally to me, and it can be a little intimidating. So, I totally understand if when I say network with professors, you get a little bit anxious inside and are like, oh, I don't really want to do that. But it really can be helpful to develop and facilitate relationships with professors and with graduate students at your institution. There's, a whole host of reasons why it's important to make connections with professors and have them get to know you genuinely as a person. One of those reasons is going to be for your letters of recommendation. Most programs expect about 3 letters of recommendation. And those usually have to be from someone who holds a PhD, or it's most ideal if it's from someone who holds a PhD versus like a graduate student that you had as a teaching assistant in one of your courses. And so you're going to want those letters of recommendation to be, as strong as possible. And kind of a shortfall I see in some letters of recommendation is students ask professors who they took a course with, and they got a good grade in that course. Maybe they went to office hours a couple of times. They have a very surface level relationship with that professor, but that professor doesn't really truly know them. They might know, a little bit about their study habits and work ethic, but they don't really know that student personally. And so those letters, they don't hold a ton of weight. Like having a professor speak to how you were able to do well in a class, unless it's a very small course where you really did get a lot of interaction with the professor, those letters aren't going to really add a ton of value to your application. And so what you want to do is ask people for letters of recommendation who really, really know you well and can really advocate for you on multiple levels, not just your academic capabilities. Because graduate school is so much more than grades, and while you will take courses in grad school, it's such a minor side of graduate school, and most of graduate school is doing research. So you want those letters of recommendation to reflect that you are capable of doing research. And so a professor is going to feel more comfortable advocating for that if they really know you and they've seen you exhibit those kinds of skills. There are different ways that you can kind of facilitate that. Office hours is a great way to start. I've also, asked professors to go out for coffee with me before to get a better sense of what they do and get their opinions on my career path. That can be another option. Getting involved in a lab is a really great way also. Most labs hold weekly lab meetings that undergraduates can go to, and that's another great way to address point number 1, which is investing in your education and learning more about a topic. Lab meetings are going to be a great way to do that, because oftentimes there's you're reviewing journal articles or learning about each of the grad students' research projects and how they're going. Networking professors can help with your letters of rec. It can also help, in other ways by just increasing your network. A lot of the professors and researchers in a given narrow research area are interconnected. They all know each other. They either went to grad school together, or they did postdocs together. They've collaborated in research together. And so it can be, once you develop relationships with certain professors, they can kind of put you in touch with other professors who maybe you'll want to go to grad school with that professor. And if you have this kind of established relationship already, it's going to be kind of easier to facilitate all these other connections, which is really great. And then they're just going to be a great resource for helping you gain skills that might be useful for graduate school. Okay, so now I want to get into like the number one most important thing that you should do if you want to go to graduate school. That, in my opinion, you know, if there was only one thing that you could do, one thing that you could focus on in undergrad and to kind of boost your application, it would be this one thing. But before I give that to you, if you are enjoying this video and you're getting some kind of value out of it, please, I encourage you to like and subscribe so that you get more content like this. So, number one tip, if there's nothing else you do, get research experience in your undergraduate. Get as much research experience as you can, and ideally find a way to get independent research experience. And so what I mean by independent research experience is find a way to conduct your own research project, or play a significant role in a research project such that you might end up being an author on a paper. That means, you know, that you're helping develop research questions, you're conducting the research, collecting the data, potentially analyzing that data, and synthesizing those results in some way and writing it up, giving a presentation, giving a poster. Independent research is going to be so important for your application. If you have everything else checked off on your application fairly well, you have really stellar GRE scores, really stellar GPA, decent letters of recommendation, good statements and all of that, but you don't have any research experience, it's going to be a lot harder for you to get into graduate school. And conversely, I think that if you have like really amazing research experience, maybe you've conducted a couple independent projects, you do really well on that aspect of the application, and maybe you have like a slightly lower GPA, maybe you didn't do as well on your GREs. That's going to be less important than the fact that you have all this research experience, because I kind of already had mentioned this before, but you know, grades and all of that, that's only, you know, one part of academia and one part of graduate school. And graduate school is so much more than being able to study hard and get good grades. And some people who are really good at that are just not cut out for graduate school. It's just a different kind of skill set that you need to do research. That's why it's really important to demonstrate in your application that you do know how to do research, that you have gone through the trial and error of research. Because when I'm on the admissions committee and I'm evaluating your application, the question that I always ask myself is, does this person have what it takes to succeed in graduate school? Not just get good grades, but can they really come up with independent research ideas? Do they have like the grit and the determination to work through all the struggles of, you know, working through the scientific method? And so if you've already done research and done independent research, then I have a lot more confidence that you do have those skills than if you've never really been exposed to research. Because research in graduate school, it's a grind. It's a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of persistence and perseverance. And so I need to see that come across in your application, that that's something that I'm confident you have. So if I haven't gotten the point across, independent research experience, by far the most important thing that you can have to make your application stand out, to increase your chances of getting into a graduate program in the sciences. And if you are wondering, how do I go about getting that research experience? Where do I start? Watch my next video, because I'm going to walk you through the top ways that you can find a research opportunity.